Hey, what's going on guys, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 mod review. Today, we're checking out a brand new, lore-friendly, scrappy weapon known as the Tinkerer's Tesla RCW by Pig. This is going to be a wonderful new addition to the game that's going to allow you to spit out electricity at very, very high rates of fire. As you can see on screen, this is a very scrappy handmade weapon, and it is an energy weapon too, which is very, very cool and very Fallout. This weapon makes for a very fun addition to the game that is honestly just one of those weapons that's so fun to use regardless of its performance that it's just worth having in your game for a good time. But it actually performs pretty well on top of that and offers some really cool features, including tons of customization options over at the weapons workbench, custom animations, leveled list integration, and even a couple of uniques that you can find out in the world. If you do want to get your hands on this weapon, it will start spawning out in the wasteland after level 8 on a good variety of enemies, but it does most notably spawn on Rust Devils, which is a pretty cool addition. That's a faction that doesn't get a whole lot of love, nor does the Automatron DLC in general, which, by the way, this mod is going to require the Automatron DLC as well as the Nuka World DLC. Speaking of requirements, this mod also does require munitions in its base version because it does add use of electron charge packs as one of the ammo types. However, for those of you who don't use munitions, there is already a patch that does remove that requirement. So if you do want to use this weapon but you're not ready to give munitions a shot, even though I highly recommend you do, there is a patch out there for you guys. Before we get into all of the nitty-gritty details like custom animations, different attachments, and the 2 uniques included in this pack, let's go ahead and check out the stats of this weapon. So here we are in-game with the Tinkerer's Tesla RCW. As you can see, this thing has a very beautiful model, very reminiscent of Pig's earlier Tinkerer's ray gun, has some similar design methodologies here. This weapon is 99% NIV bashed, however there is one custom asset, and that is the receiver here. It is just pretty much a big block of metal with some tubes on it, but it is still custom. The mesh was made by me and the textures were done by Pig, and I have to say it fits pretty well with all of the other NIV bash parts. As far as stats are concerned, this thing has a base damage of 6 energy damage, uses fusion cells by default, but there are some rechambers at the weapons workbench, has a fire rate of 110, and that can get higher with attachments, a range of 110, an accuracy of 64, a weight of a whopping 11.8 pounds, as there are some pretty heavy hunks of steel on this thing, and it has a value of 116 caps. Pretty decent for spawning after level 8. Now, as mentioned earlier, this weapon does come with custom animations that are done by Fiddler Green, and I want to go ahead and show those off for you now. These are basically stick mag animations for the SMG, but they fit perfectly on this weapon. Let's check them out. As you can see, they fit very, very well using the fusion cell as a magazine, and this also works with some of the rechambers like the electron charge packs as well as fusion cores. So this is a pretty cool set of animations that I think fit this weapon very, very well. Now then, I also want to add a new segment to our weapon reviews, and that is testing the accuracy of this weapon. Not only how it performs while aiming down sights, but also its hipfire accuracy, and we're doing so on our brand new set. That's right, my new load order is finally finished, so we can do our tests somewhere nicer than just some random hillside. Now then, let's see how this thing actually performs when you're shooting it and trying to hit targets. Here at close range, hits the target no problem. At medium range, still hits it, and then at long range, it is still able to hit the target. So that is pretty nice for a little SMG like this. Now, that being said, you are going to struggle a bit at longer ranges when it comes to the hipfire on this weapon, and the hipfire tends to get worse as you add on more attachments. Here at close range, we hit the target no problem. At medium range, we actually do hit the target, but at long range, as you can see, we miss pretty frequently. After a few shots, we do hit it, but trying to engage targets that far away, you're going to want to aim down sights. Now, that being said, there are some ranged attachments as well as scopes that make this thing perform pretty well at range when you're aiming down sights. So stay tuned for the attachment section, which is, well, actually right now. When it comes to attachments, we have a good amount of comprehensive options that change not only the functionality of the weapon, but the aesthetics as well. Starting off with the capacitor section, you have the jury-rigged capacitor, which is pretty standard, and as we move up, it's not only going to change the stats, but how the receiver looks. So when we move on to standard capacitor, as you can see, we take off that jury-rigged handguard, and we also remove some of the gubbins up at the top to make a more sleek design. Then we have the boosted capacitor for more damage, which adds a little bit of those gubbins back. The maximized capacitor, the overcharged capacitor, the rapid discharge capacitor, and the unstable capacitor at the very end, giving you a maximum damage of 14 and a much increased fire rate to 180, making this thing dish out damage like nobody's business. We also have some barrel options. We have the standard barrel, the improved barrel, the optimized barrel, and the unstable barrel. We also have a stock section featuring the short stock, which is really no stock, a light stock, a heavy stock, and a recoil compensating stock. And then finally, we have the ammo section, which includes the standard fusion cell, the overcharged fusion cell, and the max charge fusion cell. We have the optimized fusion cell, which is going to improve the rate of fire and armor penetration, but not change the damage at all, which is pretty interesting. Then we also have those same options in the form of an electron charge pack, and then we even have options for fusion cores to really maximize that magazine capacity. Now, as stated earlier, there are two new uniques included in this mod, the first of which is known as the Bug Zapper and can be found over at Watts Consumer Electronics. Simply head inside of the main building and head up to the office area, and you'll find it laying down next to the boss chest. The second unique included in this mod is known as Ride the Lightning, and this one can be found over in the unmarked drug den near the USS Constitution and Bunker Hill. Simply head to the location marked on the map and go inside of the drug den. It has multiple stories. You're going to have to climb your way up to the very top, where you will then find the Ride the Lightning unique, also by the boss chest of this area. As far as how the uniques perform in-game, the Bug Zapper has a pretty simple legendary effect allowing you to do more damage to Mirelurks and bugs, pretty self-explanatory, and this one does not offer any unique aesthetics to the weapon. It is all pretty much standard in regards to that. That being said, the Ride the Lightning unique does differ a little bit in that it has its own unique attachments that have unique aesthetics. The unstable lightning capacitor and unstable lightning barrel do more damage and have increased rate of fire, and also have some lightning that will move around on the weapon as you use it. You'll see that more in the damage test section of this video. It doesn't really showcase in the weapon preview. Also, as far as this unique is concerned, you do increased amounts of damage the more withdrawal effects you are suffering. So this is definitely a weapon for a junkie type character who uses lots of chems. Now then, it is time for our damage test where we can see what kind of damage this weapon can actually dish out in combat. Now, if you've been around the channel for a while, you know that we typically test on Deathclaws, but this weapon just isn't going to cut it there. It has a very low damage per shot, and Deathclaws have an innate resistance to energy damage, so we're going to be testing on Super Mutants today, which I think is a pretty fine baseline. We'll start off by checking out the weapon with no attachments and no perks, just to see how it does when you first pick it up, and then we'll test out a fully upgraded version of the weapon, and then we'll test one out that's fully upgraded and also has legendary effects, specifically the Ride the Lightning variant, as it does have those additional parts that make it perform just a bit better. Now then, let's see how this weapon does in its standard version. We'll aim at the Super Mutant's chest so we don't get any headshot multipliers and just see how it does. So one thing I didn't think about is that the damage arcs from character to character, so we're going to get a little splash over on these guys. That's my fault. 2 mags in, and we're barely chipping away at the Super Mutant's health. And he's finally dead after 3 mags with 28 shots each. That's a lot of fusion cells just to kill a Super Mutant. Though, of course, there are headshot multipliers, which I did get a couple in there on accident, so you can do better if you're really aiming your shots. Now, this Super Mutant Skirmisher here, we're going to use a fully upgraded version of the weapon. He does have a little bit of health missing, but I think we're still going to get a pretty good idea of how this weapon performs. As you can see, it is much, much better than the other version, though that being said, it has a much higher rate of fire and much bigger magazine capacity, so we're actually using not too many less bullets, or energy shots. We don't have a word for that, do we? Anyways, let's see how we do on this last Super Mutant here with a fully upgraded version of the weapon. He's missing some health, I know, but I think this weapon speaks for itself in the kind of damage it can produce. Also, this is the unique I was talking about with the cool lightning effects. Look at him move on the weapon. That's so neat. And this weapon performs really, really well in combat, and it only performs better the more withdrawals you suffer from, so definitely seek this one out if you're looking to dish out some damage. So yeah, guys, that is the Tinkerer's Tesla RCW. The test section at the end was a little bit wonky there, but you get the idea of how this thing performs. It's got low damage but high fire rate, and when you throw on fusion cores, it has a very high magazine capacity that can back that up, allowing you to just spray forever until the enemy is dead. Altogether, this weapon makes for a very fun addition to the game. Like I said before, this thing is just a whole lot of fun to use, and that alone is worth having this thing in your game. As of right now, it is available on PC, and I'm sure there will be a port to Xbox very, very soon. So if you want to check this mod out, it'll be linked down in the description below. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to drop a rating. It really helps out the channel, and consider subscribing for more videos just like this. Big shout out to all of my patrons for supporting every single video. And of course, a very special thank you to Avian4, Captain Chaos, Glasma, Helljumper, Indecisive Wolf, Cushy, Logan Rigmaiden, Microhan, Moonlit Gamer, Scott, Steven, Timmy76, YouthRC, and Voider for joining that Tier 3 Patreon membership. You guys are awesome. If you'd like to support the channel over on Patreon, you can do so using the link down in the description, but it is completely optional. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace!